The transition to digital marketing has been predicted for years. However, the global COVID-19 pandemic sped up that change in ways marketers could not have anticipated. In the next keynote address, Vineeta Singh, CEO and co-founder Sugar Cosmetics, will talk on digital marketing in the post-COVID-19 world. Welcome, Ms. Singh. Pleasure to have you here. Over to you.
Hi, my name is Vineeta. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Sugar Cosmetics. Very excited to be here at the ET Brand Equity G Plus Conclave. I think last 2-3 years, we've been reading a lot about the digital revolution helping create brands out of India. And I remember 6 years back when we launched Sugar, the idea of brands being built out of India and people being proud of owning and buying made in India brands was considered to be absolutely impossible. There was this time where when we started Sugar, we were told that you are going up in a category where you're competing with the likes of Unilever and L'Oreal and say a Procter and Gamble. Now that would require a lot of funding. And for a startup, it was impossible to actually compete with these large FMCG players because they had massive distribution in lakhs of stores. And then, of course, they had hundreds of crores to spend on marketing every year. So it just seemed like a crazy idea to even attempt to build a brand in India. But our journey, and I want to talk about that because the whole D2C, which is called direct to consumer wave that has led to all these brands coming up in the last few years, is just a phenomenon of the last couple of years. But we've been trying to build Sugar for almost 6 years now. And the reason we started on this journey to build Sugar, which was going to be a digital first beauty brand, a brand that addresses young millennial women, the reason was that we were actually running an e-commerce company in the beauty personal care space. And we used to work with a lot of brands, the existing legacy brands that our moms have been owning and passing down to their daughters. Now, as we started getting closer and closer to them, we realized that they were not focused on the younger generation, which was beginning to behave very differently from their moms. So I'll give you a few examples. Firstly, younger women were stepping out of their homes a lot more. So they wanted that their makeup should actually be extremely long lasting when they go to college in the morning to when they come back at night, their makeup shouldn't come off throughout the day. And then, of course, they were spending a lot more time on social media. And what that meant was that they were getting inspired by other real women and not just on the celebrities with perfect skin, perfect hair, perfect smiles that we would often see on ads on television. They were getting inspired by other real women, and they were getting inspired by women across the globe. So they wanted to be in on the biggest global trends really quickly, but also in a way that suited their own Indian aesthetic. And then, of course, the third big trend was e-commerce adoption. So 10 years back, a beauty brand would go into the market saying, my product is a commodity. I don't need to spend too much on it. My brand, which is I'm going to build through spending millions of dollars on ATL marketing, is what is helping me stay ahead of competition. So they would not worry if the product worked well or not. They would just consider it a commodity. But what e-commerce was doing was that any place you go to buy any product that's worth its salt would have thousands of reviews, honest user-generated content by consumers who bought the product and could clearly tell you that this is great, this is worth it, this is not worth it. So this was suddenly democratizing products. It was democratizing one category after another. It of course started with electronics, and books, which were probably the first two categories to move online. But now it was moving to other categories. And of course, beauty personal care was overall one of the fastest growing categories. So in beauty and personal care, things were changing from a time where women would see ads on television and then decide which product to buy, to them actually going through hundreds of reviews on these e-commerce websites to decide which was the right product for them. And then, of course, there was this emergence of social media influencers. So many women who would tell other customers what products to buy, what worked for them. And 6 years back, when we spoke to these legacy brands and we would tell them that social media is going to completely change the game of how makeup is accessed, how the engagement happens around makeup. And these brands would actually tell us that I don't think in India, women are going to put up their pictures wearing makeup on social media because they're conservative. What they weren't getting close to was this shift that was happening where younger women, which is millennials and Gen Zs, were very different from their moms. So because of the fact that their lifestyle was different, they had their own access to money. They actually spent a lot of time outside their houses, and they were much more bold, independent in their thinking. They wanted to wear makeup as a form of self-expression. So naturally, the kind of products that they were looking for were very different. And then, of course, like I said, in the last 6 years, we also saw that the percentage of e-commerce shoppers, which was less than 10% being women, was now about 43%. So 43% of the e-commerce shoppers are now women. And this big change in the adoption of e-commerce by women and access to having their own credit cards, their own UPI pins, has really changed the access that young women have, young brands have to these consumers. And then, of course, this wave was only accelerated in the last 2 years when COVID happened. And as a result of this, we started spending so much time on our phones. So while in India now, more than 740 million people have access to the internet, the average social media user actually spends 7 hours a day on some screen or the other. And that really changes everything, because 10 years back, the only ways that brands had to tell consumers how great their product was probably television, where for every 10 seconds you'd have to pay 6 lakh rupees. From that time to every single person having a phone and you being able to reach a consumer at the cost per view as low as 5 rupees, 2 rupees, 1 rupee. This was the democratization that has led to so many brands emerging out of India. And as we have it, we expect that in the next 4 to 5 years, there'll be more than 400 million e-commerce shoppers in India. And that number is probably about 100 million right now, but that's growing. On just Instagram, we have about 200 million. Out of them, about 100 million are women. So as a young brand like Sugar, without spending much on marketing, we have a dedicated follower base on Instagram of more than 2 million. We're able to get more than 4 billion views on our content, which is 10 times more than any other brand on YouTube. So what Sugar did was, firstly, we created products that were great for young women. We created products that were perfect for young millennial women. And our thesis was clear. Today, 65% of women are under the age of 35. This number is only going to keep growing as the population of India keeps getting younger and younger. Young women use 2 to 3 times more product than their moms. Young women spend a disproportionate time on social media. Young women do a lot more of their shopping online than their moms. So we saw this opportunity to create products that were perfect for young women and then use social media and e-commerce to reach them. So traditionally, while our moms would spend times in retail stores trying to learn how to apply makeup, because India is still a nascent makeup market. So you had to learn how to wear a winged eyeliner before you shopped one, and you had to learn how to contour your face before you bought a contouring product. You had to learn which foundation would suit your skin tone better. All of this is now being done digitally by brands like Sugar. So we have women spending hours a day going through makeup tutorials that we put out on Instagram, on YouTube, and on our own app. We have the highest engagement metrics and the fastest growing brand across these platforms because of the fact that we have taken the baton of educating the consumer about what makeup works better for her, which products will suit her better, how to apply makeup, how to be in on global trends in a way that suits their Indian aesthetic. And all of that is now being done digitally. And what we have learned in the last 6 years is that good content always wins. You can have the least amount of money as a brand, but if you have a solid product, if you have a great story, and if you create high quality content that engages and that educates, then you will be able to win without spending millions of dollars on ATL advertising. And that's really what's worked well for Sugar. So now that the brand started being accessible and the retail stores came along and they said that we see that young women love sugar and we are struggling because we're not able to get young women into our stores. So can you partner with us and can we create a differentiated experience for sugar where we can create experience zones in our stores where women can come try out the products and we can make them available offline. So we tried out with a few retail partners. Lifestyle was our first partner, and then eventually, of course, Health and Glow, Shoppers Stop, Pantaloons. And for us to get to the top 3 brands happened very quickly because we'd already done a lot of education and brand awareness building digitally. So as on date, very surprisingly, in spite of being a digital first brand, Sugar is actually available in 35,000 plus retail doors. But still, even though 50% of our business comes from offline, 90% of the discovery of what is sugar, what I want to buy, how I want to use it, why would this be great for me, all of that still happens digitally. So we've managed to become a digital first brand that is available omni-channel so that the consumer doesn't have to work too hard, because we realized that while e-commerce penetration was growing dramatically, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities had a lot of young women who were aspirational, but they still did not shop online. They were still going to their general trade stores or their local Health and Glow or Shopper Stop to make their purchases. And we wanted to be, as we were growing, we wanted to be accessible to every single young woman, doesn't matter which city she's in. And now we are young India's favorite beauty brand. We have an annualized revenue run rate of 500 crores. And that's been possible with very low budgets because as a company, when we started, we actually had very little capital left. But we realized that to build a brand, there are many things that matter. Of course, a great product, a great story, and packaging. So we realized that younger women were also obsessed about clicking pictures of what they bought and putting it on social media. And that meant that the story around the packaging was also very important. And a lot of people think about online advertising very, very narrowly. They think that online advertising is Facebook ads and Instagram ads. No, it's not. There are 3 types of media that you have online. There's one part of it which is paid media, which is probably the hardest to, probably the easiest to do, sorry, but also the most expensive. And it also becomes the hardest to scale beyond a point. But apart from your paid media, which is a shortcut to growth, but ends up being very expensive as you try to scale beyond a point, there are 2 very important aspects of media which young brands should obsess a lot more about than paid media. And that is owned media and earned media. And I really feel that Sugar's success has not been because of the fact that we were better at optimizing Facebook and Google algorithms to deliver better results on our ads. Because very honestly, these tech giants have like the smartest algorithms. You can't beat a Facebook and Google algorithm as you try to scale your brand. They will figure out a way to increase your cost of customer acquisition to almost as much as your average order value. And there go your entire gross margin, net margin into just advertising, which a young brand typically cannot afford. So rather than obsessing with trying to optimize that, try to use owned media and earned media, because those can really go a long way. It takes a lot more work because you have to create high quality content, but high quality content always wins, which means that if you invest a lot in creating very good content that works really well for your consumers, then you can spend very little on getting that content to go viral, and the engagement numbers and all your metrics that you want to accomplish from it will automatically come. But if you make average content, or you try to put a post on, say, social media where the consumer is there to learn more about makeup, saying that, hey, shop 40% off, 50% off, discount, blah, 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 then while your content is something that is average, your cost of distributing that content will dramatically go up. So you're not going to accomplish engagement and long-term customer recall by building sales and discount-led properties on your media. So which is why as a brand, we were very clear. Our communities are very precious, and our communities will bring us long-term loyalty, and they will bring us brand sales. But it was very important for us in those communities to be honest to the consumer. So if you go to any social media platform of Sugars, you go to YouTube, you go to Instagram, we will never talk about discounting and sales and shop sugar here and buy two, get one, and buy one, get one, etc. We will always talk about makeup trends, how to make yourself feel more confident, how to, what a red lipstick can do to your mood. We will talk about tutorials around, what kind of makeup suits, what kind of skin tone, skin type, and so on. So we are being honest to our consumers there, and our consumers reward us. They helped us get to 2 million followers in the last 6 years. And there's no other brand that's able to grow as fast as us. So invest in those. And then, of course, the last part of it, which has worked really well for Sugar, and I know that a lot of brands are now trying that, which is influencer marketing. So the other great way to grow your engagement and get closer to your consumers is, of course, to work with the hundreds of thousands of young women who are out there creating content and who are engaging with their customers. But again, our learning has been that don't take a shortcut by saying that, okay, I'm going to work with a category A influencer, pay her 5 lakh rupees, and then see the rewards. Because what happens is that a category A influencer will give you a sudden jump in engagement and follows. But at the end of the day, next day, she's going to get 5 lakhs from another brand and she's going to promote them. And then that's it. Every day there is a new brand. And at the end of the day, you're just one of those many brands. So find the right influencer and then partner with them, have a long-term relationship with them, work with them on creating content that is relevant for your community and their community. And trust me, if you don't get too bedazzled by the number of followers, there are a lot of very high quality influencers in India who you can partner with. And Sugar has managed to do that. So out of 6 pieces of content that we put out every day, only 1 is what we create in-house. The other are actually co-created with our influencers, and we work together on creating what works best for the consumer. And there again, like I said, Instagram and YouTube lend themselves very well to education and visual storytelling. And that's the best way in 2022 to build a brand. Do solid storytelling, have a great product, have fantastic packaging, give every single time a fabulous experience to your consumers. You will get rewarded. Obsess with your earned and your owned media by creating high quality content, by co-creating high quality content with your influencers, and don't try to take shortcuts there. Don't get obsessed with the idea of spending a lot of money on paid media, because if your content doesn't step up to the level, then you'll end up burning a lot of money in pure performance marketing, which beyond a point will make your brand not scalable. Think about it this way. because of the fact that in 2022, there are so many SaaS platforms, as we call them, that make it easy for you to manufacture the product, to make a website, to do social media, to do ads. All of that can be outsourced now. So as they say, it's never been easier to create a brand. But trust me, it's never been harder to build one. Every single shortcut that you take in compromising on your product or on your packaging quality or your content quality or your communication quality or trying to grow your brand on steroids by spending a lot in ads but not really delivering on solid consumer experience, all of this will take away from your ability to build a brand. So think 5 years, 10 years down the line. And that's how we think. I feel that we're just at the tip of the iceberg. We're just beginning to see an entire generation look at makeup very differently. Young women wear makeup for themselves because it makes them feel great. They get inspired by social media. They shop online. They consume 2 to 3 times more product than their moms. They're so different. And they are the core demographic that all Indian brands are going to have over the next 2 decades. So think about your brand as a 2-decade-long project and not in terms of next month sales targets and next year sales targets. And that's what will allow you to make decisions which are best in the interest of the brand in the long run. So long-term thinking, small baby steps, always delivering products and content and experience which is absolutely wow for your consumer, and then nothing can stop you from building a fabulous brand, led of course by the digital revolution, but eventually which can be available omni-channel. So that's my story of how we built Sugar and how Sugar has come a long way. Please reach out to me on any of my social media platforms if you have any other questions. Very excited to have been a part of this incredible event. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Singh, for sharing your perspective on digital marketing in the post-COVID-19 world. Now we'll move on to the next session. Stay tuned.